So okay, we have the XP Pen 14-inch set up as the display for the Mac Mini. Now, of course, it's a pen display, so we can actually draw and paint with the stylus here. But right now it's kind of set up as if it's kind of like a large laptop. I have a TourBox Neo set up. I have my phone. This is an old iPhone. It has the notch. Doesn't have a dynamic island or anything. But I have Stream Deck Mobile set up with the 4x8 grid that's on my Stream Deck XL. You can either pay monthly, yearly, or you can get like a perpetual, I guess, forever license, which costs $50. So I went ahead and just bit the bullet and just went ahead and paid for the perpetual $50 license. Now the Stream Deck Mobile can work on iPads, it can work on the iPad Mini, and it can also just work on your phone. So now the iPad is an iPad Air. It's a 13-inch, and there's a mouse origami kind of folding stand cover case. It's really nice. And you know, I've got the Apple Pencil, but I'm not really going to use this. Whenever I have to draw or paint, it's always going to be on the XP. The stylus is not going to work with the iPad, and of course, because it only works with the XP Pen display. And that's one of the things you're just going to have to accept, because this is being extended to the iPad through Apple's Sidecar. And here's just an example. Here's me moving the mouse. If I go over to the left, it goes over onto this screen. And if I go down to the bottom, I can make the dock pop up over on the iPad Air. So right now I have the stock panel split off over onto the iPad screen, and I have a Brave browser window open. Whenever I double click on one of these, it kind of loads up where it is on Pixabay's website, and I can download the image, whatever, you know what I mean. But it's just, if I'm searching for stock images, it's just kind of nice to have it off to on another screen. And again, this is my digital mobile studio solution. Is, you know, we can't take away our big you know, studio workstation that we have set up at home, but this was my solution as to, well, what can you do, what can you put together, how can you miniaturize all that, how can you have, you know, two displays with all the other gizmos and whatnot that I use. So this is a pretty compelling solution, I think, to be able to take this on the road, to go over to friends, to collaborate. If I go down and visit my mom in Texas, I can put all this stuff in a 20-liter backpack, and it'll fit underneath the seat when I'm on the plane. You know, it's not like I'm putting it in luggage and, you know, where it's going to get tossed around and stuff. So anyway, I think it's a pretty good solution. Is it kind of pricey? Well, I mean, I'll explain that further along in this video. At first, I was using the iPad Mini as a second display using Sidecar, but you know, it's kind of tiny. You really want something that's, you know, like, I think bigger. You know, I mean, sometimes it's just because the 14-inch display isn't all that big, but if you have a 13-inch beside it, but between the two, it makes life easier. So pretty interesting, I thought. I went with a miniature Logitech keyboard and paired it with the Logitech mouse. This is the MX Anywhere 3S mouse, and they're both hooked up to the Mac Mini with the little Logi bolt USB receiver. So really there's only 5 cables. There's the cable for this, the power cable to the for the Mac Mini, a cable for this TourBox Neo, and then you have to have 2 cables hooked up to the iPhone and the iPad. You can use this wirelessly with these two with Sidecar, but I've found that the connection just is it's getting better, but it's still not as stable as a wired connection. If you have wired connections, it's really smooth. So, um, with the pricing of the digital mobile studio, this is the pricing for the one with the iPad mini. I have two that I've been working on. One with the iPad mini as the second display and used as a Stream Deck. And then I have one that I've been recently using with a larger iPad Air 13-inch. So that's not included in this pricing. I'm going with the smaller iPad. So you start off and it's like, well, you have to start off with a computer. And so I had bought this Mac Mini 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, and it was just kind of sitting in a drawer for the last 2 years, or since I replaced it with a Mac Mini M4. But it's still, 7 years later, it's still a viable Mac to run programs like Affinity or Moho, or to do some digital sculpting with Nomad. The most crucial thing, though, is you have to have 16 gigabytes of RAM. That is just non-negotiable. 8 gigabytes is just not going to do it. So it's got to be at least 16 gigabytes. And then, this is kind of on the paltry side, the SSD at 256, but it's, as long as you manage things, it's not like I'm doing video editing on this, although people have. But anyway, with this mobile setup that I have a USB hub that actually has a 1 terabyte M.2 drive inside. So that makes up for the fact that I don't have a lot of internal storage. So anyway, it's pretty small. It's like, I don't know, 7 by 7 inches. One of the other things, though, that's maybe a caveat, a downside, is there's not a whole lot of ports when you start, adding devices to it. I mean, there's really only 2 USB C type ports here, and then there's the USB A ports. So you really only have 4 to work with, and but it's doable. That's one of the reasons why I added the USB hub later on, because that gives you additional ports if you need it, and also has a card reader if you want to take a, SD card out of your camera and be able to, work on photos or whatever. So anyway, the 275 is a price that I came up with, even though I had previously bought this 7 years ago. I took to eBay and I jotted down some prices that I had found, and 275 was actually a price that I had found. Now, as with anything, prices fluctuate on eBay, but I mean, one of the things is even the latest Mac Mini M4, I've seen it as low as 450, 475. And Apple's real close to releasing the M5 version, so. But it just depends on if you want more, processing power, a better GPU. You do get a little bit more ports on the M4, but there are no USB-A ports here. It's strictly 3 Thunderbolt USB 4 ports on the back, and then there's 2 on the front, which aren't Thunderbolt. They're, I guess, USB 3.1 or 3.2. But anyway, you have 5 USB-C ports. So that's, pretty good. So, okay, you have that. And then I bought a case for it. So the M1 Mini fits inside, and then there's enough space on the lid for me to put a lot of the components of this mobile studio inside of it. And again, it's not bad. It's like you have to have some protection for all of these items. You just can't throw them in a backpack because you don't want to scratch up, the screen of your display. You don't want to damage stuff. So you do need to have some cases to protect stuff. Down below is the M4 version. You can see that it's more skinnier rectangle. I don't know for sure, but it still looks like I would be able to put the keyboard that I have inside there and be able to fit stuff in it. Here's the backpack that I have. I had originally got this because I had Mouse's laptop sleeve for my one PC laptop, and it kind of takes its visual cues and styling from that. But I was using this just to have a laptop and like a drawing tablet and some other items in it. But then when I was putting this mobile studio together, I'm like, well, could I use this as well? Is this versatile enough to have everything that I'm putting together? And it actually turned out it did. So I bought this on sale. I can't remember what the price was. And for whatever reason, it was less money to get this stone version, which probably will get dirtier faster than the other colorways that they have. They have like a black and a blue and I think a sage green color, but yeah. One of the best features of it is it just opens up. This zipper goes all the way down and you can like spread it open and really get everything inside of it easy. So I really like that. So, okay, here's the keyboard and mouse. I took to eBay to buy this. It's the Logitech MX Mini for the Mac. I bought this case, and then I bought the mouse, and this is the little USB receiver. And then I, got a mouse pad, but all told, it was like $115. And I did save some money by going to eBay. I have no problem buying stuff that's open box or used. I've always had great luck when it comes to saving money, going that route. So here's the TourBox Neo. I bought a case for it, and again, I had already bought this previous. It's like 4 or 5 years old now, but when I took to eBay, I was able to find it. I saw some prices as low as 100, and then the case and everything. You just really have to shop around. This is maybe the most controversial item of the kit. The iPad Mini. It's like I always have like two iPads. I usually try to have the biggest one they have and then the smallest one. The biggest one is kind of like self-explanatory. It's like if you're in Procreate or you're using the Affinity version 2 apps on the iPad, it's real nice having the much bigger size. But the iPad Mini is great too because I have a Peak Design little camera bag sling, and it has a compartment where the Mini fits perfectly right in it. So I could be like at the Pittsburgh Zoo and I'm taking pictures of the gorillas and the elephants. I'm planning on doing a digital sculpture of an elephant in Nomad. And so rather than just take advantage of elephant photos and pictures that you find online or whatever, to me, I want to observe the elephants myself, take pictures of the elephants, make sketches of the elephants. And so I can take a Peak Design, this camera sling bag, put the iPad Mini in it, put a camera and 3 lenses in it, and even some pens and some little, small little sketch pads, and I can get a lot done and stuff in terms of getting my own reference. But the iPad Mini, the small factor, it's just very cool for reading on, for consuming content on, and it has the 2nd gen Apple Pencil with it. It just takes some getting used to, but so with this version of my mobile studio, this iPad Mini can be used as a Stream Deck, because Stream Deck Mobile, if you pay for the software, and I paid for a perpetual license for it, so I can have a 32-button Stream Deck that is on the iPad Mini. Or I can use the iPad Mini as a second display by hooking up just a cable to the Mac Mini, and I can extend the the display onto the iPad Mini and use it as a second monitor. Some people use iPad Minis to attach to their cameras and to give themselves a bigger display to look at when they're setting up, shots and everything. There's all kind of use cases for this small little iPad. Some people use it as a teleprompter, in a setup. It is kind of pricey though. This $250 price. This is the 6th gen model, and the Zugu case and the Apple Pencil. And I took that to eBay to see the cheapest that I could, get it all spec'd out, and it came to $250. Of course, I spent a lot more of that brand new, but back in the day. But here's what I'm talking about: the Stream Deck Mobile. You can actually program up to 64 keys. And it just requires, you can do it on iPhone, iPad, even the Apple Vision, but I don't know about that. But see, here's the breakdown monthly. I just decided to go ahead and, do the $50 lifetime, because you go monthly, you try it out for a year, you do it for a couple years, and you're already up to the lifetime price. So I just said, what the hell, just go ahead and do it right now. So okay, so you need to have some sort of power strip when you're on the go, or you're traveling, you're in a hotel, you're over at a friend's, whatever. You need to be able to have some sort of compact little power strip that you can go. So I just found one for 15, and it works pretty well. And I can charge stuff as well, devices. It has ports and everything, USB. So that's, pretty easy. This is kind of a crazy item in the current climate of 2026. This was a year ago I bought this stuff, but this Acasis USB-C hub, it's got some heft to it. It's aluminum because it kind of acts as a heat sink for whatever M.2 drive you put in there. But it gives me all these additional ports. It has SD cards. I don't have a Samsung SSD in mine. I have one from Western Digital. It's a 1 terabyte. But this is what's hooked up to the Mini. And then, if I start to run out of ports on the Mini, then, I can plug stuff in here. So, but anyway, it was like, I want to say, roughly 70 and 80 for the hub and then for the SSD. But now if you try to buy a 1 terabyte SSD, it's a lot. And this device here, I think new, I'm trying to remember, maybe 150 or something like that. But yeah, I just I kind of have a talent for finding deals on eBay, Amazon, etc. So okay, so here's the display itself. Now this is a pen display, and it has a pen and you can draw and paint with it and stuff, but there's no reason why you just can't use it as a traditional display. So there's one cable and it hooks up to the Mac Mini, and it's a really nice setup. The only thing is as it says right here, it's a 1920 by 1200 resolution. You get a little bit more pixels. So it's a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. And again, this is 14 inch. The 16 inch version, the resolution goes up to 2560 by 1600. And obviously that would be nicer, but again, it's a small form factor. It's for a mobile studio. But yeah, ideally I would love to have the 16. And they do make a 16 that is 4K in resolution. But you want to know something? A lot of times when you have those bigger resolutions, 2.5K, 4K, man, you start to run into things where the icons and everything just looks a little too small and tiny. And so on Windows, you can kind of fix it a little bit. They have tools that allow you to scale up things to where they look better, things look nicer, text, icons, whatever. On the Mac, you're kind of limited with the way Mac handles displays, with how they deal with all that. So one of the things I had to do is for my larger XP display and then the smaller 14, I just invested in Better Display Pro on the Mac, and that lets you control resolutions and fine-tune everything. There's a feature called High Resolution, High DPI that lets you get the text more clean and sharp. And it even works with your iPads as well. You can do things, even though you're using Sidecar. I've only been able to do this once, and it's very difficult for me to make sense of all these options. But I was able to rotate the iPad to where it's vertical, and then what's on the screen follows suit as well. So like, imagine I'm in Affinity. I could have a panel split off. Like say I wanted to have, the stock panel or the brushes panel, and I wanted to have a long list of items to look at. I could have it with the iPad in portrait mode, vertically set up. So it's $22, and that entitles you to like all of the updates in that given year. And they're always updating it constantly. It seems like I have an update like once a month or every other month. And so anyway, it's really nice to have, and it just fills a gap that Apple just doesn't really give us the options to have great control over the displays that we use. Okay, I wanted to go over some of the eBay and Amazon prices. Like, I bought my XP Pen 14 on eBay for like $150, and it was just a used model. Now, if you're nervous about that, well, you don't want to take the chance. XP Pen themselves will take used items that they have or refurbished items, and they always give you that rigmarole of how, oh yeah, we bring them back up to pristine factory settings or this or that, or clean it up or whatever. But if you look here, originally $420 and they're selling it for $168, and then the 16-inch model that I talked about, regularly $600 and it's $329, and it's free delivery, and you just whatever tax is for you. But that's how you can save money, just by going with used or refurbished items. So you always got to look around for the deals. Again, if it, like, say you wanted to have a TourBox, but you didn't want to spend, I had priced it out at just a little over 110 for that TourBox Neo. But say you just wanted to go with this light version. On Amazon, it's $95. But again, I took to eBay, and someone was selling an open box used version for $75. And it said $7 for delivery, but fortunate for me, it was here in Pittsburgh. I could have just picked it up for free and not paid the $7, so I could have got it for $75. Again, that's a $20 savings. You just have to look around on Amazon and eBay and, strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. If you see a great deal, just jump on it. You know what I mean? Sometimes just check friends and family. Sometimes I've found people where you'd be surprised how many times people buy electronic equipment and they give it to their kids, or they give it to their mom or dad or whatever, and then they just don't use it. It just sits in a drawer. Like, I've known a lot of people like that, where they have a drawer and there's like an iPad in it that hasn't been used in a couple of years, and you're like, hey, I'll buy that from you. You want $100 for it? And they're like, yeah, here, take it. You just have to, tap all those avenues to try to try to find it. Okay, so you just can't throw the XP Pen display in a backpack and expect it not to get scratched up. So this is just a regular, just generic kind of sleeve, and it does the job. It fits in there. And then the other thing too with the XP Pen, even though it has collapsible legs on the back that come out, it's like a 19-degree angle, which is probably a little too short for me. So I just found this Zenrich laptop stand, and it has various little notches so that you can get closer to, like, say, a 45-degree angle. And then it all collapses up, and it's easier to stow away. So, okay, total price breakdown just for this one mobile studio, the version with the iPad mini. So again, the backpack and 5 cases, that comes out to a little over $250. And then I had to spend $72 for 2 software licenses, one for the Stream Deck Mobile and then one for better display. So that left me with just a little over 1,000, and so that amount of money got the Mac, the display, the keyboard, the mouse, the external SSD, the USB hub. The display is also a display tablet, so I can draw on it. I did not buy a Stream Deck, but the Stream Deck mobile license and the iPad Mini allows me to have a Stream Deck. So instead of having a Stream Deck XL or MK, I can just use the iPad Mini as the Stream Decks. I have the TourBox, I have the iPad Mini with the pencil. I don't per se have a webcam, but I can use the iPad Mini as a webcam if I need to do that. I showed you that Zenrich stand and then the power strip. So like all of that is for 1,025, and so combined it comes out to 1,350 roughly. So, and again, you could probably get this price a lot lower because you could use your phone. Everyone has a phone, so you could use your phone in place of the iPad Mini if you want to use the Stream Deck mobile. So, that's $250 off of that price right there. You could get it down to, around $800. If you don't want this TourBox Neo, you could cut that price. Or if you wanted to go with the TourBox Lite, you could save $50 there. And then as you're cutting these items down, saving the money there, maybe you bump this up to the 16-inch model, or maybe you take that savings of to put into a Mac Mini M4. So there's a lot of ways that you could depending on what you want and what you think is important, you could take this $1,000 down to $800, or you could add a little bit more to it. Like, for example, my dream scenario is, for me, I've already replaced the iPad Mini with, since I already had my iPad Air 13, it's taken the place of this. And then probably the Mac Mini M1 is going to be replaced at one point with an M4. And then the XP Artist Pro 14, I would probably go up to the 16 version. Probably not the 4K, but but just the 16 Gen 2 that has the 2.5K resolution. I call it the 2560 by 1600. I mean, that would be a really nice setup. So now, whether the 16 would fit into this 20-liter backpack, I don't know. It's a little bit bigger, and the 14 fits in it nicely, but maybe the 16 wouldn't fit in this. I'd have to probably find a backpack that's maybe 25 liters or something. But right now, this all works nicely in this backpack. In terms of weight, without the actual hardware itself in the backpack, if it's just the backpack and all the empty cases, I think it comes out to maybe 4 pounds. And when you actually have the hardware in the cases and everything in the backpack, and I weigh myself with the backpack, it comes out to, it's 13 pounds, something like that. So that's not bad. It's like all this hardware only comes out to, like, say 9 pounds, 10 pounds. So that's I guess something to keep into account too, how heavy something is and